What's good, y'all? I'm pointing right at you. This is Robert Jackson, and thank you for tuning in to a Station Square. And today we're going to be chatting with somebody who is another film director. I've been having a lot of directors on my show lately, which is a good change of pace. I welcome it. But regardless, we got a director who's been in the business for, if I'm not mistaken, over 30 years.
That'll be it.
I'm just, yeah, it sounds about right. But anyways, this is Brett Mauser. Is that correct?
Brett Mauser.
Brett Mauser. Yeah, okay, Mauser, like a mouse. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, I'm just so excited to chat about your career and pretty much just sharing about your experience so other like my audience can get to know like what is it that you do and how to get into the biz.
Of course, I'm happy to be an open book here. Answer any kind of
Totally.
questions.
Yeah, I guess what we can discuss first is so tell us like everything that you've been up to this year because I know this is November and January just literally felt like it was yesterday. What's been keeping you busy during these times? Like I know that the last few years have been quite challenging to say the least, but yeah, what's been keeping you busy and what have you been up to, since oh,
Sure.
there's my phone. uh, I was expecting interruptions, but anyways, how's your 2023 been for you?
Well, it's sort of been a long run. I guess I'd probably start. I guess this sort of run starts back in summer of 2022 when we produced and wrapped up our 6 episode series, The Night Watchman, which was a science fiction series that's currently on Amazon and Tubi. And then in December, I was visiting my parents for Christmas, and my father made a comment about never being in one of my movies, so I decided to make a Western with him in it. So in March, April, and May, we were working on The Oldest Posse, which was a sort of a love letter to the old Sergio Leone 1960s, 1970s westerns that I was raised on. And then in while we were working on our festival run with that, I kind of wanted to make a series that was sort of an inspiration to other filmmakers out there that wanted to inspire them to get out of their chairs and get out there and make their own films. So we created this YouTube series called Long Shot, which is about halfway, a little bit over halfway through now. But we wanted to show how to make a movie for less than $2,500. So we revisited one of our old cheesy, campy horror comedy franchises, Serial Rabbit, and made Serial Rabbit 7 with a behind the scenes crew showing us every step of the way from concept to casting to writing to shooting to editing and even distribution as to how to make a movie when you've got basically no money. We went out there with 2,500 bucks, made this feature, and now that's on Amazon for streaming. But also more importantly, it was about the Long Shot series. It was on YouTube to really show people how to get out there and make their own movie, that anybody can do it. And so we just finished our festival run this past October with Oldest Posse, racked up quite a few awards, won 4 of the 5 festivals we were at, and now we're focusing on that and wanting to get people to go out there, watch our films, Serial Rabbit, Oldest Posse, but most of all, Night Watchman. Night Watchman is I think a series that we'd really like to see hit season 2 and get a good audience behind. So that's sort of how we've been keeping ourselves busy. And of course, in the meantime, I do teach college at a local college here in San Antonio. So been doing that as well.
Man, sounds like you've been really productive, my guy.
I've often tried to take breaks. I even said in our series Long Shot, I was going to take the past summer off. I was going to take the summer off, just relax, do nothing, and just recover. But after 2 weeks, I was ready to go. I needed to do something. I needed to make another
Um,
movie. So that
yeah.
was the brain. That was the inspiration and the necessity to go out there and do Long Shot and Serial Rabbit.
Yeah. So from your journey as the high school video enthusiast to a filmmaker was like, man, that is quite a long journey. But After you graduated in 1991, you founded Ponderous Productions in Denver, Colorado. I wanted to know how it's like getting to like finding a studio, producing films, and just running your own production company.
Well, I think the heart of it is freedom, is wanting to do what you want to make, and not having somebody over your head telling you what you need to make, what you should make, how you should make it, whatnot. It takes longer. There's a lot more negative criticism, a lot more negative critiques, and as you learn and you grow and you do it yourself and you find your own path. But it does sort of start out with your friends, your buddies, and hey, let's make a movie, and just picking up whatever you have to shoot with, whether it's a an old VHS camcorder or the camera wherever you happen to be working at the time, and putting together a story and telling that story, and just keep on plugging away. Well, that movie didn't work. Okay, what are we going to do this time? Okay, well, let's make a horror film. Well, we're obviously not very good at horror films. Let's try this. Oh, well, we made a comedy. Oh, that was really funny. Everyone seemed to love that. Seems like comedy's our route. It's finding your own path, finding what you excel at, finding what you're good at, finding what you love to do. Um, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices. You sacrifice a lot of your social life. You sacrifice a lot of your own income to put the money in your own films. And when sometimes you make a movie for $65, sometimes you make it for $7,000, and you just see what works, see what you love to do, and see what keeps you motivated and constantly growing. I mean, I've quit film a dozen times, saying I give up, I can't do it anymore, and then anywhere between a month and 6 months later, we're right back at it because it's just a part of you. It's addictive, and it becomes a part of who you are and how you tell your stories and express who you are as a human being.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely can. I see where you're coming from with this, because when you're working with, a company, there's like a lot of, because you have like, the network notes and everything. But if you're running your own company, like pretty much have like, um, there's more of a leeway of what you can actually do, like with your movies. So when you were producing This Is Ponderous, like what's the whole production like history behind that film, and or at least you could just kind of say the same for a lot of the movies that you've directed and you made. Like what are some of the pros and cons, like the challenges, and also some of the true, like what would you say were the most rewarding and the challenging aspects of producing these films?
I would say probably the most challenging thing was of course money. Was of course budget and having to do what you could with what you had.
Oh man,
Um,
yeah,
and
I can
going down and
relate.
getting a $15 Walmart light as opposed to a good lighting kit. And
Oh man, oh, man, I know how that's. I certainly know what that's like when it comes to money. Yeah.
so that's and you get in a mindset. And I think this was sort of what kept us back for a long time, was sort of you get in a mindset as well. I don't need money. I'm gonna do this however I can get it done, and you get sort of blinded by the project and by your own aspiration, by your own love of your own project, and it puts these blinders on that you don't get to see. You don't really get to see what when you're just casting your buddies or your girlfriend or what have you in it. You don't really see that the quality isn't quite there. You don't get to see that, well, because I used that Walmart light, that I didn't really capture the essence and the emotion and the mood that I should have. And that's not to say that that's not a great way to that's not a great way to learn, but it does impact you a little bit and hold you back. And sometimes I think that kept us back for a long time. Not us just being able to us just saying, well, hey Brett, how's the lighting? Well, can you see the actors? Yes, action. And not being able to take the time to say, well, how can we really make this moody? How can we make this present the emotion that we really want to get across? And that kept us back for a long time. But on the flip side of that, we told so many stories. We're on basically our at least our 45th feature film. Countless short films, all these series. We got them done. We got them out of our system, and we told the story. And that was, looking back, is maybe not as high quality as they could have been. We were able to tell the story. We got it out of our system, and we have that under our belt, and we learned, and we grew as filmmakers. So the negatives were also the positives in that light. And I think that was the important thing for us to do, to keep on going, keep telling the stories, and keep progressing as filmmakers.
Absolutely. Um, and growing up, how was it like for you when it came to like, oh, like the creative aspects with your endeavors? So, how would you describe your childhood out of curiosity?
I had a very, very supportive family. They never really understood the film thing. They always figured, well, this is a phase. He'll grow out of it, or he'll become an accountant someday, or a lawyer, or a doctor. But they never pushed me down. They never kept me down. They always said, hey, if this is what you want to do, then go for it. So that was a big help. But of course, then once you started having this sort of a film family, this corporate, or not corporate, but this company family, the ponderous family, so to speak, you found a lot of inspiration, a lot of support there. And hey, we love your films, we love what you're doing, we want to be a part of it. And they come on board, and they collaborate, and they help uh, become a part of those films. And in the ponderous years, we created our own cinematic universe. We had the same actors playing the same characters over and over again in different movies. And they became those characters, and they grew into those characters. They learned who those characters were and what they would and wouldn't do. And when I'd write something, they were able to say, well, Ruby wouldn't do this, or Will wouldn't do this. And we could have that conversation, and it evolved it evolved past just these one-off movies, and it became this big, huge, epic story that spanned over 20, 30 films, and continues in a ways to grow even after we closed down Ponderous and became Not So Sane. A lot of those storylines come back sometimes, and evolve, and become even better stories than they were when we had no budgets. It was just a group of friends trying to tell these stories.
Yeah. So, would you say those are kind of like growing up from when you first got started and, how the industry, like going to where it is right now? Would you say that those are some of the biggest, like, notable, noticeable changes, or, the biggest evolution that you've noticed from when you first got started up to now?
Yeah, it's funny because we started our cinematic universe in '97. And then you had Iron Man come along in '09, and the cinema, all these other cinematic universes, started to evolve. And we were sort of just almost wrapping up our cinematic universe when they were just getting theirs started. And it's fun to watch, because you have, from like Iron Man to Endgame, you have this very tight universe. But even while we were watching that, we were like, be careful. We've done this before. We know what happens. We know how you can grow beyond the story, and all the pitfalls of the continuity and the recastings and all this. And we were just kind of watching it going, I know what's going to happen next, because from behind the scenes, you can't maintain this, forever. um so it was fun. It was fun from that aspect, watching it. But it we did grow as filmmakers, almost the opposite, in the opposite way. Was we got too big for our bridges. We told these big elaborate stories, these big universes, and now we're getting back down to just telling one story at a time, and focusing on character, and focusing on this one character's journey, rather than trying to make this huge elaborate twist and turns, all encompassing, this character does this, so it's going to impact this character's story. And I think audiences are getting back to wanting to just see a good story and just wanting to see one character and fall in love with one character and see what journey they go on. You open it, you have a middle, a beginning, a middle, and end. You close it, and you go home and you have dinner and you get on with the rest of your life, rather than having to watch, watch movies just as homework to be able to know what's going to happen in the next movie. So it's fun watching the evolution of not just ourselves, but others, just cinema as a whole.
Yeah. Um, and there's so much more that we could discuss, like, casting the actors and actually, what do you mainly look for when you're working with, actors for your films?
That's a good question because that too has evolved. In the original days, it was the early ponderous days. It was looking for friends, people who would really just want to have the loyalty and just really want to have fun and be a part of this family and just go out and have a good time making movies. And that was where it started off. We wanted to work with people that we wanted to work with. Now it's evolved into, well, who's the best actor for this character, who's the best for this role. You don't always look at, well, I'm going to really have a good time working with this actor. You look at, what is this character going to bring to the role? Is this character perfect? Do they understand the role? Do they fit the role? Are they good at what they do? Back in the earlier days, it was just, hey, we're going to put, hey, if they can breathe and say the lines, we're going to put them in the movie. Now we do go through that process of asking, do people want to watch this character? Do people want to watch this actor portray this character? And are they going to bring something to the character? And it's an evolution that took a long time for us to get to. I look at every sort, I can kind of look back at each one of our movies and see where we grew up and what aspect we can go, oh, this is where we learned lighting. Oh, this one is where we learned sound. Oh, this is where we learned set design. Oh, this is where we learned about art design and colors and color themes. And we can look at this one and go, oh, well, this was our science fiction movie, but we completely forgot about character development. And we go, oh, well, that was a mistake. We know how to get around that. And unfortunately, I think acting and finding the right talent for the right role was one of the last things that we really achieved, because we were still so stuck on loyalty and who, let's just hang out and make a movie. And we had to get over that hurdle to say, no, we're trying to make art. We're trying to make something that people want to watch. We're trying to make something for audiences, not just ourselves. We still do that for ourselves. We still kind of make the movies that we want to make, but we want to make something that audiences are going to love and enjoy and get involved with. And that was probably one of the last things that we had to overcome and understand that, we're making this for audiences, we're making this for other people, not just ourselves. And the key to that, I think, was getting actors and talent that audiences wanted to watch go down these adventures. So that was a tough hurdle for us, because sometimes you had to tell your best friend, well, look, I know you really want this role, but this isn't the role for you. And that was an evolution we had to make through our filmmaking process.
Yeah. And what were also some of the biggest like learning experiences that you had, when you're working on all of these projects?
Probably getting over the fact that there is a business side to this. Um, the listening to the comments, listening to the reviews, and a lot of reviews you'll just have to kind of push to the side and go, what do they know? But then there are sometimes nuggets in there that you're like, well, you know what, they were right. We do have to pay attention to this. We have to pay attention to that. I think the biggest growth, the biggest thing you have to learn is accepting that you're not always going to be right, that you're not perfect, that you don't know everything, that you're always going to be learning. Even though I'm a professor, I'm still learning to this day. I still learn, new aspects of lighting or new technologies, and you have to you have to be able to learn and accept that you're not perfect and that you always have room to grow. And that's, I think, the most important key to becoming a better filmmaker.
And I'm just, thinking about all of, what you did before, and what was, do you always aim, like, I know that we kind of have like ambitions, and we're kind of, we set the bar, when it comes to setting the bar, at a level, setting the bar high. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. So um was there always part of your like philosophy to, um for every film or anything that you do, is make each project better than the
Yes.
last?
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you hit that, because that's where I kind of saw that going, and wanted to bring on every film. You have to sit there and say, okay, what's next, and how do we make that better? Our last film, Oldest Posse, we're very, very, very proud of. It's done very well in the festivals, and there's a little bit of that in the back of the head. Oh man, what do we do now? How do we top it? How are we gonna make this better? And it's a little bit of that is, when you're an independent filmmaker, you have to make a lot of compromises, and you have to say, okay, well, we're not going to be able to get a crane, or we're not going to be able to do this shot, or okay, we're going to have to just have three horses, and okay, our old west town's just going to be able to have like two extras in the background. Well, you've got to start going, okay, well, we have to up our game. We have to make this town look thriving. We have to make it look like it's a busy town. Means we're gonna have to put some more money into it. We're gonna have to get that crowd full. It's also starts when you're putting pen to paper and saying, okay, what makes a good story, and that comes to doing the research and reading the books, the Save the Cat books, Heroes Journeys, 11-step story structure, understanding the story structure, and what what audiences excuse me, learning what audiences expect to see in their films and want to see in their films. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't, it's sort of become a buzzword today, subvert expectations, but you still want to surprise and shock people in your films, and not shock in terms of oh wow, look at this, we're just trying to shock you, but in terms of wow, I didn't see that coming, because people want to be surprised. People don't want to just see the same movie over and over again, even though that they are when they're seeing that hero's journey over and over again. But you still need to put those twists and turns in there, and accepting that there's a give and a take to be there, that you have to have this basic story structure that's going to keep people involved and interested, but also to be able to put your own twists and turns in there that are going to surprise audiences and keep them on their toes, so to speak. So I would say that the toughest thing to learn, to be able to grow as a filmmaker, is to be able to balance being in the frontier and pushing things forward, but keeping yourself rooted in the filmmaking techniques that got us here as filmmakers and as a cinema, and as an industry to begin with. So there are no absolutes in this. I would say, understand that, be aware of the shoulders of the giants that you're standing on, where they came from, and the Citizen Kanes, and the understanding what the importance of that film was to the industry, but also knowing what you as a filmmaker and um, as an independent can add into that mix that makes it grow as a medium.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it also comes with determination and perseverance too.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because there has to be a little, while sometimes I say, okay, you got to take that criticism, you got to look at the reviews. At the same time, I do say, well, sometimes you just got to say, well, what do they know, and plug forward. Um, I am a completely different filmmaker today than I was when I first started out. I'm a much better filmmaker, but that came about by making the mistakes, going forward, and just saying, hey, I want to make movies. I'm going to figure out how to do this, and plugging forward and just doing it, as opposed to, saying, well, that movie wasn't as good as it could have been. Maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what you want to do. You go out and you learn, and you become a better filmmaker, and you keep pushing the boundaries and pushing yourself to do something that's better than what you are at the current time, if that makes sense. I don't know if I quite express myself quite in that way, but yeah, it is a lot about um, pushing forward, both listening to the criticisms, but also damming the torpedoes and just plugging forward, straight forward ahead, and continuing. You're going to make one great movie, and then you're going to make a bad movie. You're going to make two bad movies, and you're going to make two good movies, and it's just about, especially when you're doing it, especially when you're doing independent, because you don't have this giant studio behind you saying, well, don't do this, don't do that. So there's going to be the pluses and the minuses to both of that, that you have the experience behind you saying, well, be careful not to do this, um, and helping you avoid those mistakes. But at the same time, you don't have that constant studio notes that, oh, you got to change this, you got to do this. Oh, we're going to have this test screening to see if this winds up to be a good idea. You get to take the chances as an independent, but you also don't have that safety net of that army of people saying, well, are you sure this is a good idea or not?
Yeah. And would you say that having the degrees that you have, like, I mean, I know that you have a BA and MA and numerous educationals, like with your diplomas and everything. Would you say that they also helped you learn and getting that education? Like, it also helped you gain a better understanding of filmmaking and it really made you start, what am I trying to say? It helped you gain a better understanding of filmmaking, and it also helped when you were making your own films and, you know, having you gain more of a confidence inside of you, like
Yes.
as you were running your companies and, working with so many different people and, when you were making all these projects to begin with.
Yes, this is the great debate, isn't it? Film to film school or to not film school.
Yeah,
I was of the
oh, yeah,
mind,
yeah.
to not film school for many, 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 many years. I got my associate's degree first back in '93, which was, just the basic video and film production. And I went into production, opened up my production company right after that, and stayed away from school for, I mean, I tried several, I tried to get my 4 year. I bounced around from school to school, and I just never really found a place that really spoke to me. So that was difficult. It was difficult to finish that 4 degree. So I just kind of put it on the table and said, well, you know what? I don't need a piece of paper that says I know what I'm doing. So I went out there and I tried to learn and do it all myself. And there was a lot of myself, a lot of me teaching myself and educating myself and figuring things out on my own. But what I will say is eventually, when I did go back to school in 2010, and finished my BA and then moved on to my bachelor's, it opened a lot of doors. It did open my eyes to a lot of things, and kind of made me see the importance of lighting from a different perspective, and sort of the independent versus professional way, I guess, kind of say it. It did let me look at things a different way, but more than anything, it opened up doors for me. It allowed me to get jobs that I was not that I wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. Whether that's the whether I mean, did I really know anything with degree that I didn't know without it? Not really. I could have done in the exact same jobs without that degree, but that degree got me in the door. It also tells potential employers and potential investors that you're able to stick with something and complete it and do it and finish it. And when I walked away with that degree and then turned around and got a master's, a year later, that told people, hey, he was able to sit down, he was able to plug through it, he was able to finish it, do the work, do what they asked him to do, and he finished it. And that says a lot, and that speaks volumes. Now there are some, some people that, some employers that aren't even going to look at a degree, don't even really care and just want to know what you're capable of doing. So again, are there absolutes in this world? Yeah, there's some, but not a lot. And I wouldn't say that a film degree is necessary. Wouldn't see that it's not a good idea as well. So you've got to find your own path and decide what's going to benefit you the most. Do I think a degree will hurt you? No, absolutely not. I don't think it will hurt you. Um, do I necessarily think it will help you? Yes and no. I don't have a specific answer for that, but in my personal experience in my life, yes, I can definitely say that the degrees opened up the doors for me and allowed me opportunities that would not have been there had I not got.
Yeah, so we could talk about not so sane entertainment and what went wrong, where you discuss about all the mistakes you made in your career. So, um, did you like had this in mind that you wanted to share to students about what you've done, like going through just taking them a walkthrough of your career and just to it's also a way to teach, future filmmakers of what not to do in the industry, what are the pros and cons, and et cetera, et cetera. So when you were
Yes,
doing the web series, yeah.
yes, we, especially after I got my master's and I started looking at teaching, that became a very important part and aspect of my company. And we wanted to make films, but we also wanted to educate other filmmakers and show them how to do things right, how to do things, the right thing, the right way and the wrong way. And sometimes the wrong way works. But we so that's where what our web series What Went Wrong came from. Was we can now look back at all of those movies from Ponderous Productions and the early days of Not So Sane, and see what we did wrong and be able to say with experience, hey, look, this is what we did, this is why it did or didn't work. If you go to school and they tell you this is how to do it, well, we didn't know that was not the way you were supposed to do it, so we did it this way, but the way we did it worked anyways. Or hey, we did it this way and this is why it didn't work. And it was a way to be able to show and tell other filmmakers, hey, look, we've made the mistakes, let us show you the mistakes we made so that you don't have to. We know that you're still going to go out there and make the same mistakes we did because you're not going to listen to us, but we still want to be able to present that to you and say, hey, look, this is what we did wrong. And this is why it held us back for so long. But look, we also did this right. And this is why this movie worked and this one didn't. And that's sort of what that evolved into our new show, the long shot, which we actually take you every step of the way to show this is how we used to make films and this is how you can get films done. Is it going to be a good movie? No. If you got $2,500 or no money to make a movie, is it going to be any good? Probably not. But you're getting out there and you're doing it, you're learning it, you're figuring it out, and you're gaining the confidence to go out there and make a movie with a little bit more money and with a little bit more skill and a little bit more talent behind you. So that was a very big part of Not So Sane. Was we didn't want to just make movies, we wanted to teach others how to make movies as well, and that was where what went wrong came from.
Mhm. So I guess with all of this said, when all of this is said and done, like what is something else that you're really looking forward to, like in the future? Or where do you see everything moving forward as we are kind of like still currently navigating through like, this new normal and everything else that's been happening in the industry? Where do you see it all moving forward?
That is a very good, very interesting question because that's something I've had to think a lot about recently, especially with AI.
Oh,
We especially
yeah.
in school, we have to start putting a little bit more focus on that and where that's going. And I think it's something that is probably not what a lot of filmmakers want to hear. Um, I think it's going to change a lot of the way audiences watch movies. It's not going to be too far down the road where you're able to just go home after a long day's work and say, hey, AI software, whatever, make me a movie with Humphrey Bogart and Clint Eastwood and make it a horror action film. And then It takes a few minutes to render it out, and you sit down and you watch whatever you want to watch. Um, it's going to be interesting to see where it evolves, because we're at the cusp of like I say in long shot, and has spoken at some of the film festivals about this topic. We're sort of looking at the horse industry as the horseless carriage and the automobile is coming around. What is the industry going to be like in 10, 15, 20 years, when you don't need to have actors, these actors who are constantly on strike, or are torpedoing their own movie because they get out there and get on a political soapbox and tank the profits of a movie, when you can now just create your own movie stars out of thin air, and they're completely believable and completely controllable, and they're not going to go out there and they're not going to tank your movie. Where does that lead down the road? I don't know, but it's definitely something that we should be thinking about, because do we want, as filmmakers, to become just sort of the recreational horseback riding industry, where you go out and you get take a trail ride, and that's just something you do for fun on weekends, because the automobile has taken over and is now doing all the writing, all the editing, all the acting for you. I would never really participate in artificial intelligence, because I love writing, I love editing, I love acting, I love shooting, I love directing. Why would in the world would I want to turn that over to an AI to do that for me? No interest. That's like me you know hiring somebody to take my girlfriend on a date. I want to go on a date with my girlfriend. Why would I have somebody, why would I have AI do that for me? So it's a scary place to be in. I'm going to be retiring in 5 to 10 years, so it's not as scary for me, but but it is something that I think that filmmakers have to consider and think long and hard about, moving forward with this new technology of AI. I hope that didn't scare and bring nightmares to people, but something to
I
think
mean,
about.
it's a huge concern for
Yeah.
sure. But Brad, I just want to thank you so much for stopping by and being here. And I know people can check out your work on socials or wherever we can find you on. We'll just definitely provide links, in the description. But regardless, thank you everybody for watching. Hope this didn't end on a downer note, but I just wanted to thank everybody for watching and stick around for next time. And until then, this is Robert signing out.